Hello everyone, and a very good evening to you wherever you are watching in this world. Welcome to the Ferrari Hublot Esports series. Super exciting because of course this is Ferrari's first official esports series, and it's the 4th of October, which means we are live for the first race of the Pro and Am series. And not only that, we are racing at one of the most iconic tracks in the world. It's Monza. Did you guess right? Now, my name's Nikki Shields, and I'm very excited that alongside me is Paul Jeffrey, a very experienced sim racing professional and also a member of racedepartment.com. Paul, how are you doing, and how excited are you that we're here? This is it, the first time that we've got the Pro and Am series racing against each other.
Well, hello, Nikki. Hello, the world of the internet. I am exceptionally excited. I'm always excited, so it's no news to anybody. But in particular, I'm really excited for this one, Nikki. As you say, it's the first of the championship races. So gone are the knockout qualifications, and now we're into the meat of the challenge, and Pro and Ams as well. This is going to be incredible. Monza is a wild ride in one of these Ferraris. So yeah, I can't wait. I really am looking forward to this one.
So now we know that the 24 drivers, we've got the AM drivers, and then we've got the 24 Pro drivers, all competing today, but they are competing for a pretty awesome prize, aren't they, Paul?
Oh, they're an amazing prize. So the championship, anybody had the opportunity to qualify for this AM Championship knockout races and then get through to the series proper that we're in now. It's an exceptional challenge with an exceptional end result to be part of the Ferrari Driver Academy eSport team. And Nikki, it's one of those, isn't it? That's an absolute money can't buy, once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. This is going to change your life potentially as you know it. I mean, we've obviously spoken to the guys like Enzo Benito earlier in this series, and you know, you can see the passion that he has for being part of the Ferrari Driver Academy and racing for the esports team is just amazing, and it really has changed his life. So sadly, you can no longer get involved, but you can watch it and you can be part of this incredible journey and find out who is going to be crowned the champion. And of course, let's not forget that all the drivers gets to race the brand new Ferrari 488 Challenge Evo kart, which is awesome.
Amazing.
And has been specially designed for use within this series by the creators of Assetto Corsa. So cannot wait to see all those drivers go head to head. But now, as we mentioned, we're in October, which means we've got the Am and Pro series starting today, and then the grand finals will be taking place in November. But let's kind of talk through how this championship format is going to work, because so far we've had the qualification rounds taking place. We've had drivers from all over the world competing to try and get in that top 24 spot. So we've had those AM qualifiers, we've gone into this series, the first races are taking place today, and then the finals will be in November. You can see there that we're going to have 4 races for the 25 AM players, and then 4 races for the 25 Pro drivers. Now, they've all been invited to become part of this series, so we're looking forward to getting to know them. There you can see the 4 tracks that we're going to be racing on during October, and then we've got the grand finals taking place. 3 tracks will be in Mugello, Nordschleife, and then Monza, and then just 1 winner. So those top 12 drivers from the AM will compete against the top 12 drivers from the Pro Series across those 3 races. And then that's it. We will find out who is crowned the Ferrari Hublot Esports Series champion and gets a spot in the Ferrari Driver Academy esports team. Super exciting. Do follow the journey. Just go to ferrariesportseries.gg for everything you need to know, and watching it live, of course. Now, last Sunday, we had the final race of that qualification phase, where the final 6 drivers secured their spot in the AM series. So let's take a look at all the action on track.
And here we go then for the British Grand Prix round at Silverstone of the Ferrari Hublot Esports Series. Our pole position man, Matthias Tiske, will be looking to make the best start, heading down into the first corner, and he gets away from the line very cleanly indeed. A little bit of wheel spin, the tyre smoke at the back of the car showing the velocity that these Ferrari 488 Challenge vehicles are putting through their rear tyres. But pole position has converted into race lead. Marco Pinero retains second position. In third, we have now got Ottavani. The Italian has made up ground at race start, heading into the difficult complex at the start of this Silverstone lap. There, Denby made a mistake coming into Stowe, so got too much curb on the inside, unsettled the car. You saw it bouncing on its suspension. That's made him vulnerable to an attack from Watts, who's now side by side coming through the final station of lap. Watts manages to find enough space to overtake Dendy. He's now under pressure from the car behind, so William Dendy, one small mistake has led to a position loss and plenty of time to the cars ahead. He's dropped back as well, so Dendy, yeah, an absolutely incredible opportunity, and that opportunity has just got one step closer for Max Bischoff. While we were looking at him on screen, oh no, there's a mistake there. That is Francesco Panera just going past there. Bischoff has managed to turn the car around at the loop. I was just about to say he's found himself in sixth position, one of his rivals ahead, where you can turn in lap after lap as we see a very late lunge down into it. I mean, that's incredibly dangerous there. Osdenick in the white Ferrari, chased down by Luciano Bedin into the chicane. Bedin came from miles back at Daniel Ricciardo. Luciano Bedin knows that this is his chances. Both cars run wide into the first corner. There's contact. That's Osdenick making contact, spinning the white Ferrari around. Very disappointing manoeuvre there. Ran out of road, came back on again, made contact with the car, and that has opened up the chase for sixth position. Now there are 5 cars. Mirozic in 7th, and Vetero just holding on to the 6th position as Bedin is on the outside, coming down to the right hand. There's contact again. Bedin has been caught in the rear corner, spins the car around. The car behind him, I believe, was Watts, is also facing the wrong direction, and we've gone from glory to absolute disaster in the space of 5 corners. The very fast first section of Silverstone. Look at the gap. As actually, there's a mistake. There is a mistake from Mirozic, running a little bit wide into the right-hander. Gets the car off the racing line, and that has opened the door again for Panetta to have another attack. Will he go to the inside? Will he go to the outside? Will he throw a dummy? He throws it down the inside on the braking zone. Not quite enough room there. The car wobbles under brakes. He manages to keep everything going in the right direction. He's got one more opportunity. Our race winner crosses the line, but this is the fight for 6th position. He's on the outside. Mirror is covering the inside. Can they keep it too wide in for the second part of the chicane? No, they cannot. And Mirozic manages to seal the deal, retain the position, and crosses the line in 6th position for the final Ferrari Hublot Esports knockout race of the series. Our race winner, untroubled from pole position, Marco Pinero, second place, finally crosses the line. We saw an absolutely awesome race last time out at Silverstone. The Northamptonshire circuit served up some incredible competition, and we got 6 more. Our final 6 drivers qualified for this series. So let's have a look at some of, well, all of the AM qualification players for the new 4-round championship. Here are the names of the drivers they're going to be taking forward the challenge of honour for Ferrari over the next 4 races starting here at Monza. These drivers all qualified online in a hot lap leaderboard competition, all participated in a 30-minute race against their rivals, and all finished in that all-important top 6 position to get themselves at this stage of the competition where the real challenge begins, where they're doing 4 races against each other for the chance to get into the grand final in November. But running alongside this AM Championship, we've also got the invited pro players. So let's have a look at who's taking part in our first race of today's activity. These pro players are a mix of professional esport drivers, real world drivers, and YouTube influencers. We've got Josh Martin, who we've seen in many different championships over the years. Chris Hay, really popular YouTuber that you can catch on the internet, does some beautiful artistic videos. Eleonora Cavian, Again, a livery designer in the real and virtual world, Roman Monte, a race driver that we see, Victoria Thompson, one of our 3 female racers in this series, and David Perrell, who we'll speak to very, very shortly, racers for Ferrari customer team. A great lineup of drivers.
What an awesome list of pro players that we have here racing with us over the next few weeks. And I'm very excited to say that we've actually got 2 of them here with us, live into the studio, not live in the studio, but they're dialing in from their home simulators, of course, ready to get stuck into the competition. And first of all, we're going to speak to a lady from France, although she's living in the UK at the moment, Alethea Boucq. Alethea, fantastic to have you as part of this series. One of our 3 female drivers as well. But tell us a bit about your kind of entry into sim racing, because I know you're quite new on the scene, aren't you? I want to hear about this journey that you've been on.
Yeah, so I started 8 months ago. I got the bug after watching the Bathurst 12 Hours race on YouTube, actually. And my fiance told me, well, you can use my rig and do the same thing in Assetto Corsa Competizione. So I got in the rig and I got the bug, completely got the bug.
And are you faster than him?
I am now on pretty much all tracks. There might be 1 or 2 tracks he prefers where he's still faster than me.
Awesome. So the big question is, how fast are you on Monza? Because that is obviously where we're racing today.
So Monza is actually my favorite track. It's the first track I've ever done in ACC, so I feel like I've got a good understanding of it. Hopefully I can be as competitive as the other pro driver. I know they've got a lot more experience than me. I do my best.
Excellent. Well, it's brilliant to have you here. And how does it feel as well? Because we're seeing a bit of a movement at the moment, more women getting into sim racing. You're now one of 3 female sim racers in this series. How does that feel?
It feels incredible, to be honest. When I started sim racing, I quickly noticed it was a male-dominated environment. So I actually gave myself 2 main goals, and one of them trying to bring more to the world of sim racing, and the other one was to try and come high level. So I feel like I've finally reached that point where I can do both at the same time.
Excellent. Well, we are going to be watching your progress very closely. Alethea, thanks for joining us, and good luck for the race.
Thank you.
Well, there we are. That's great to have a fellow female in the studio. It's brilliant. Now, Paul, we've actually got the chance to speak to another one of our pro competitors. Who's up next?
Yep, next we've got David Perrell, who many of you will recognise from various real-world racing exploits around the world. David is a Ferrari customer driver. We've seen him at big events like Bathurst in the past. And he's also a very, very active sim racer. He's the head of Coach Dave Academy and also the Sim Grid. So really excited to chat to David about the parallels between real and virtual motorsport.
Hi everyone. Hi Paul. Hi Nikki. Thank you for having me on the show for the interview.
Hey David, great to have you. Thanks for joining us and great to have you in this series. Now, we've already mentioned that you're a professional race driver as well as a sim racer. And what I want to know is, do you find it useful competing in eSport championships for your real world career as well?
Yeah, to me, the competition element is actually the most important part, because as accurate as the tracks may be, they're not as accurate as real life. So we try to use the competition part more to practice how we're feeling under pressure and those kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, that's fascinating, of course, because there's the competing against fellow drivers, trying to find overtaking manoeuvres and racing lines. But from a driving point of view and a reflex point of view, does time in the sim rig behind the wheel help you driving your real Ferrari as well?
Yes, it does. There's a few things that I've practiced in the sim which I've brought to the real world from a physical point of view.
Wow.
In terms of my reflexes, but also how I feel in terms of the muscle tension that I used to feel in qualifying. I used a simulator to fix that and become more aware of it for real life. And it's made a huge difference. This year has been one of my best qualifying performances on average. And it was all intentionally practiced in the sim during the lockdown period. So there are huge advantages that I believe many drivers could use from the sim and carry over into real life.
That is absolutely incredible. That's here, isn't it, Nikki?
Yeah, some trade secrets there. I love it. We're getting the inside scoop here. David, what would it mean to you to actually win the Ferrari Hublot Esports series?
Well, to be honest with you, there is a difference between how quick a real life driver is versus a pro sim driver in the simulator. I'm more here for the enjoyment and to represent Ferrari in the best way possible than to actually try win it. I'm also going to miss one of the rounds because I'll be racing at the Spa 24-hour. So for me, it's more about seeing what other talent is there in the race and wishing them the best of luck, trying not to get too involved and just enjoying it. When I was younger...
Yeah, you say that now. I know you're going to be competitive.
Look, when I was younger...
You're a racing driver.
Before I was a racing driver, I was trying to win competitions like this to try and get a seat in a real car. So 22-year-old Dave would do everything he could to try and win this championship, and it would mean the world to him, trust me.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. David, really appreciate your time. Good luck at Monza today and for the rest of the series, of course, as well. Brilliant. Looking forward to seeing you on track.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, David. All right, well, we're getting excited about Monza, so I think it is time we take a little look at the lap overview and see what kind of challenges are facing our drivers.
The Temple of Speed, that is Monza. 5.8 kilometres of high pressure, high stakes and high speed racing are ahead. The long straight on the power down into T1, the Rettifilio chicane. Time can be won or lost very easily in this corner. Maximum acceleration is needed for the run through the Curva Grande as the driver prepares themselves for the hard stop coming down into the Della Roggia chicane. Use as much curb as you dare for a good run down into the famous Curva di Lesmo. 2 corners, both right-handers, maximum attack, stay within the confines of the racetrack as we run up to one of the most famous sections of corner on the circuit. The left, the right, the left again at the Variante Ascari. Here you can carry speed through and get a good run for the long straight down to the legendary, the incredible, but the mighty difficult final corner of this lap. Round the Curva Parabolica, don't be too greedy on the throttle, otherwise you will very quickly run out of racetrack. That's Monza.
Absolutely love it. The Temple of Speed, definitely one of the fastest tracks that we've raced on in this series so far, and plenty of overtaking opportunities as well. I cannot wait to see these guys and girls get cracking on the Monza circuit. I think you're excited as well too, Paul.
Oh, I can't wait. Amazing. And like you say, it's the Temple of Speed. It's incredible lap times, but it's so easy. It's old school. It's so easy to make a mistake. So will they go quick or will they quickly go off? Let's find out. It'd be brilliant.
I'm guessing probably a little bit of both.
Yeah,
but in the meantime, let's take a look at the qualifying results for the Pro Series.
Arnaud Lecombe is our pole sitter with a 149.135. Gianni Di Salvo joins him on the front row of the grid, just a tenth of a second in arrears. Kamil Pawlowski and Giorgio Simeone in 3rd and 4th positions. On row 3, we have Danilo Santoro, headed by Matteo Caruso in 6th position, 2 tenths away from the ultimate fastest time. Jesus Cecilia and Jordi Zwires round out 7th and 8th positions for the 4th row of the grid. On row 5, Kevin Scolari and Corrado Sorello in 9th and 10th positions, half a second off pole position. Chris Hoke and Tarek Gamil are 11th and 12th positions, 6.3 tenths and 7 tenths respectively. Josh Martin from the United Kingdom is 13th, ahead of the fastest of our female racers today, Eleonora Cavion in 14th. Cesare Penko and Samia Ibrahimi are 15th and 16th position on the grid, with Samuel Ratz and real-world Ferrari driver David Perrell lining up in a disappointed 18th, a second away from the ultimate pace. Victoria Thompson of Germany is 19th and James Parker in 20th position. Alethea Boucq in 21st, with Roman Monte not starting this race due to real-world racing commitments, as is Chris A and Alex Serrato missing from the grid for the first race of the Pro Series at Monza.
Okay, so that is everything you need to know ahead of our very first Pro Series race. So it is now time to hit the track and let the action commence.
So this is it. This is Monza. This is the first race of the Ferrari Hublot Esports Series Championship itself for pro drivers. Points are on offer. We've got a quality field and qualification has been separated by next to nothing, but all that is in the past. The present now is the start of this opening race. The run down to the Rettifilio will be critical for these drivers. They'll be watching their lights, getting ready, keeping the throttle on a certain amount of revs, and we are go for the opening round. Arnaud Lecomte from pole position dives to the left-hand side to try and cover his start position. Will he be overtaken by the cars behind as the field powers down to the Rettifilio for the very first time? The yellow Ferrari on the inside is De Salvo, who takes the race lead. There's a little bit of door banging side by side through the first chicane. Lecomte survives pretty much as somebody goes round the escape road at the exit to T1 down the Curva Grande for the very first time. Too wide coming into the chicane. This is going to be tight for both cars, trying to find enough real estate as somebody in the background is off on the gravel. It's been a frantic first lap. Too wide into the chicane della Roggia. At the moment, De Salvo is the race leader. Arnaud Lecomte has just slipped back from pole position into second, but Nicky, it's Monza. Slipstreaming is your friend. There is plenty of time still to go.
And slipstreaming there very much in evidence happening at the front of the grid there. What a fantastic start. Brilliant to see a lovely clean start. And looking at the grid, it is so competitive. They are literally within a couple of tenths of each other. It was a shame. I think we saw at the start of the grid, he just disappeared from view. There was Jordi Zviers, who was on the grid, but he obviously had some kind of technical issue, maybe with his sim, but he no longer is racing with us today, which is oh no, maybe he's come back on. He's right at the bottom. So that's great. So he's now in 21st position, but he obviously did have some technical issue which has put him back 12 seconds, which is going to be hugely disappointing. But the brilliant thing about this, of course, is it's not a knockout, so they've got 4 races to just bag as many points as they possibly can to get the chance to get racing in those final races against the pro drivers.
Yep, they have indeed, and I got a little bit confused with bright yellow and bright red cars. It's actually Arnaud Lecomte in the yellow Ferrari at the lead of this field, under significant pressure from Gianni De Salvo behind. De Salvo, Italian driver, Arnaud Lecomte, Frenchman, both very competent, and De Salvo throws it up the inside into T1 Rettifilio. Can he get the car stopped in time? No, he cannot. Scrabbles over the top of the sausage curves. De Salvo runs a little bit wide. Lecomte gets the undercut. De Salvo knows what he's doing there. He's come off the throttle a little bit, so he doesn't get a time penalty. And Arnaud Lecomte retains that race lead, but that is classic Monza action. The slipstream all the way down the start-finish straight lines you up, and De Salvo last of the late breakers with a little bit on top there as well, running wide, but a great action so far, and this is exactly living up to the billing that we anticipated it would do. These are pro drivers. These are drivers that have been around the block 1 or 2 times and know a thing or two about piloting a sim car, Nicky, and that was brave. Let's be friendly about it. That was a brave overtaking move.
A brave move indeed. No, it's actually, you know, as you mentioned, this is the first time that we've seen our pro drivers go head to head against each other. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they can do with the car and how competitive they are against each other, because this is the first time that we've seen them on track racing against each other. These guys have all been hand-picked, as opposed to in the AM series, of course, where they were qualifying. They had to qualify to guarantee their place in this series, whereas the pro drivers have been handpicked and invited to be part of this competition.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And of course, as you say, this is a championship. This is a 4-round event, so these drivers will be facing off again in 1 week's time at the Zandvoort circuit in the Netherlands. So it's important to get good points. It's also important to show your rivals that you mean business. And coming through onto the third lap, Arnaud Lecomte has got a larger gap to Gianni De Salvo than he had previously, so he should be clear in the braking zone for T1. But Kamil Pawlowski, the Polish driver behind, is looking to make an overtaking manoeuvre. And here we see Tarik Gamil. Tarik Gamil, a driver that we've seen in SRO competition before, goes too wide on the outside, becomes the inside for the chicane, and Gamble and Santoro having an absolutely beautiful fight between them. Then both drivers, we see Tarek in the picture there, both drivers giving each other racing room, showing each other respect, and exactly what we expect to see. But Gamble now on the defensive, coming into the Della Roche. He's got a car up his inside, but manages to block that manoeuvre. Runs a little bit wide, deep on the brakes as well. They'll compromise him on corner exit. Now he's under pressure into the first of the two Lesmos. Gamble goes to the inside to defend, but that is not going to stop Cesare Penco from finding a way past. Outstanding fighting. Gamble now from attacker to defender, and also Sicolari in the background thinking, yes, I'll have a piece of this pie as well. So phenomenal driving from all three of those.
Yeah, and obviously we saw Tariq Gamble on the screen earlier, and he has just been so passionate about being part of this championship. He was saying just the fact that he is representing and honouring Ferrari and being part of such a prestigious championship means so much to him, and I'm sure that is the case for all the drivers that are part of this championship, because of course wearing the prancing horse on your shirt is an amazing thing to be able to do.
It is indeed. Look at this now, coming down into the parabolic for the fourth time. Chris Hokie makes contact with the car ahead. Both drivers managed to keep on board. That was A&O Cavion, our lady racer, the fastest of the female drivers we've got in this race so far, making a little bit of contact into Parabolica, but both cars still, fortunately, pointing in the right direction as we see Cavion in screen now in virtual reality. So that's going to be a little bit warm under that VR headset. Breaking down into the Rettifilio chicane for the next time. Cavion on the outside, Hokie on the inside, and that is two cars giving each other just enough, but just enough racing room as we head down the curve of Grande. Almost too wide for a moment there. And what we've seen at this moment in time, Nikki, is it's typical Monza racing. Because of the slipstream effect, there's very few corners on this circuit. If you go for an overtaking manoeuvre, it doesn't quite pay off, or you're trying to attack the car in front, you'll instantly be going slower than you can do if you're in clean air, and that makes you vulnerable to the slipstream behind. So you can be looking to make an overtake, and before you know it, you're three cars further back as everybody steams past you.
I've got to ask you a quick question. What's going on with Jordi Zviers? Because he's now down, he's only 3 seconds off the pace of Boucq, and I'm sure there was like a 13-second gap between them, so he's really making up the pace.
Yes, Zviers actually had a nightmarish start. As you rightly said, started 8th on the grid originally, only half a second away from our pole position man Arnaud Lecombe, but found himself
closing in,
relegated to the back, and seems to be on a charge. And if we see, look at these cars, they're all compacted together, fighting for their own bit of tarmac. So actually Zviers, as soon as he starts catching, if he's got raw pace in that car, starts catching it with his pack, making overtaking manoeuvres. We're looking again at Tariq Gamble, getting a little bit wide into Parabolica on the chase of Cesare Penco ahead. But if Zviers can keep this pace up, then he can get himself back into contact, shall we say, with the cars ahead. So great driving, but actually looking at Daniel Sotoro, looking to the inside of Sorello, showing his nose, deciding he's not quite got the overlap. Sensible there from Santoro, decided that there's nothing really to gain with 22 minutes still on the clock by throwing the car down the inside, eyes closed and tyres locked, and he decides to live to fight another day. But so far, this driving, we don't know where to look next. This fight's everywhere.
I'm looking down. Zviers is now up into 20th position, which I think leaves Alethea Boucq down there in 21. Oh, what's going on there? Oh,
I think that's Dave Perrell. I think that's our real-world Ferrari customer driver, David Perrell, being made facing the wrong direction. I think there was a little bit of contact. I didn't quite catch who it was that made the contact with Perrell just outside the top 10 positions. But Dave Perrell, who's a driver that we all know very well from GT World Challenge and various other GT3 specification racing in his customer Ferrari. Very, very talented driver. Great sim racer as well, the South African. But sadly, I'm afraid it doesn't look like this weekend's going too well for David Perrell, as we see him facing the wrong direction. But I think as I scan down the timing list, is he still on circuit? I don't think he is actually. So, yeah, shame to see Dave Perrell exit in such an early juncture of this race.
Yeah, he's going to be disappointed by that one, but there is plenty of time for him to make amends over the next 3 rounds, that's for sure. But before all that action unravelled, I was just going to talk about Alethea Boucq, who we obviously had a catch up with earlier, and the fact that she's only been sim racing for, I think, 9 months. I mean, it's an amazing achievement to just be here in the first place, and I'm sure she's just really enjoying being able to get the experience of being part of a professional sim racing series.
Yeah, absolutely. Alethea is doing a great job so far. She's obviously on YouTube as well if you want to check her out on there. Does a lot of streaming and detailed videos of the world of sim racing. And she's actually found quite a bit of lap time. So she was a little bit further away from the running order in qualification. By her own admission, lacking a little bit of pace at this stage in proceedings. But come race day, as soon as the visor's down and the green flag's out, doing a really great job to keep with the field ahead. So I'm sure we'll see more from her as the race progresses. But two people that are currently in a bit of a jam with each other is that man that we've just seen on screen was Santoro, as we flick away to Ayanori Cavion. Again, virtual reality, really good to see a different way to go motor racing. VR, for anybody who doesn't know it, is the headset that you wear over your eyes. It gives in effect a three-dimensional image that you're looking at. So rather than looking at the cars on a screen, you're physically sat in a car, you can look around, and it's an incredible experience to drive and race in VR. You really want to reach out and touch things on the cockpit that aren't there. It's most bizarre, but someone that's reaching out and touching something is Simeone in fourth, all over the bike of Kamil Pawlowski, coming down into the Tamburello, coming down into Parabolica for 19 minutes left on the clock. Pawlowski is a man under pressure, somebody we've seen a lot of in esport competition. Kamil Pawlowski, very young driver, only in his very early 20s, the Polish star, almost took a couple of really high-profile championships last season, but now he's the man under pressure, and Arnaud Lecombe is currently leading our race. Fastest lap from Gianni Di Salvo, and here we go, Simeone up the inside into Rettifilio. Kamil Pawlowski closes the door firmly. Simeone makes light contact with the rear of the Ferrari, but both drivers in identical liveries survive, and that was almost as close as it could possibly be without going over the top of each other.
Yeah, I mean, Pawlowski, he's got a brilliant sim racing CV, that's for sure. He's a Thrustmaster official driver, Next Level Racing Global Ambassador. He was the Project Cars 2 World Champion in 2019 and also the World Champion in 2017 and 2016. He was a World's Fastest Gamer 2 finalist and an SRO Esports GT Series competitor in 2019. So really, he's got a pretty good CV, I think. He deserves his place here, and yeah, he's clearly deserves his place in P3 at the moment.
Yep, and he's also a really nice guy. We spent quite a lot of time with him last year at the SRO series, which was on site at the time for the world health situation allowed. And Kamil, really nice guy, loves his sim racing, really passionate about what he does. He's got time for everybody to have a chat. So it's really nice to see these are pro drivers, these are pro esport racers, but they're also really grounded people that enjoy the passion and the hobby that we all enjoy as well. I'm not good enough to race with him, so I talk about him. And at the moment, he's in third position, but under increasing pressure from Simeone behind. So Simeone is going to be intelligent about this. He knows there's no point trying to find a pass at the Parabolica. He's going to stay as close as he can, but you see the car twitching under corner as he's losing a little bit of downforce due to the slipstream. Simeone now is going to try and close up to the rear of Pawlowski ahead. Not quite able to do it at the moment. Maybe Simeone is running a little bit more downforce than Pawlowski in front of him. Can't get close enough, which, I'll be honest, Nicky, that surprises me. I thought they'd be like these people. 3 wide, almost coming into T1. This is Cecilia in the red Ferrari on the outside of the 3 wide Ferrari sandwich. There's a slower car ahead of them as well. Just behind, Chris Hoke on the makes contact, manages to keep the car facing in the right direction. Cavion, who we've seen is the back of that 3 cars. But as we say that, Caruso and Abrame are closing in as well. So a 3-way fight is very quickly turning into a 5-way fight just outside the lower reaches, just outside the top 10, sorry. So fighting all the way through the field, just as we expected here at Monza.
Oh, it's brilliant to see. Yeah, fighting to get into the points, of course, because there is that opportunity to go through after these races to get into the finale and race against the AM drivers as well. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens between the Pro and AM drivers when they come together in the final in November, isn't it?
Oh, it is, because we say AM drivers, we say amateur drivers, and to be fair, that's almost an unfair thing to say. There's nothing amateur about the drivers that we're going to see in the race immediately following this one. They're incredibly talented, fast, and well-practiced drivers, so just because you're a professional does not mean, by any stretch of the imagination, that's a guarantee of success. As this fight continues, we saw Cavion, I think it was there, get a little bit squirrely on the exit of Ascari, run the car out wide onto the dirt and gravel. That's going to compromise her for the run down into the parabolic, but I think she's got just enough breathing space from Samir Abrami, the guy that won the SRO GT Series AM Championship earlier this year, another championship that I commentated on. A great driver, saw some very methodical performances from Samir during the course of the season, so he's one to watch. He's maybe not quite shown the amount of pace we would have expected of him so far in this race, but he's a great racing driver and will make the most of opportunities and start moving himself up through the field, because, as you say, Nicky, this is race 1 of 4. This is 4 races with the same drivers. There are points on offer, so you need to score big at every round. Those points make prizes. That's what our drivers need to achieve. Score, score, score. Consistency, consistency, consistency. So the higher you can finish today, the more points in the bank, and the easier the next 3 races will be for you.
Very true. And we have been talking about Aonore Cavion quite a bit, and just a reminder, she's actually a livery designer in both the real world and the sim world, and I believe that actually Ferrari created the livery upon her request, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing, and that's the thing about virtual motorsport, and real one, I suppose, as well. It's not just the driving. There are roles for people doing the broadcast cameras, for the commentators like ourselves, livery designers, setup engineers, strategy engineers, just drafting partners, people to test and to practice with. It's something anyone can get involved with. We're looking now at Santaro showing his nose down the inside of Sorello again. Not quite got enough horses under the hood to find a way up the inside, but that will be no problem because he gets another opportunity down the long start-finish straight, taking the wide line, trying to carry as much speed as he can through the corner, down the start-finish straight, firmly into the rear of Sorello's car, trying to get the slipstream into Rettifilio for the first time. He's got an overlap, shows his nose early, allows the opportunity for Sorello to know exactly what is happening, but as soon as you pull out of that slipstream, the effect of pulling your car along through the air finishes, and you find that you've got to your maximum top speed and you stop the overlap position from happening, and that means you can't get alongside. We saw it earlier with De Salvo, where it was a very late braking manoeuvre. They didn't quite manage to finalise at the flag, but you can get alongside, but you've got to be brave on the brakes. And again, I know I keep repeating myself here, but this is a championship. This is 1 of 4. You make a half measures manoeuvre and you've got yourself a problem. And here we're looking at Alethea Boucq, as we spoke to her a little bit before we came into the race. Alethea is driving from France. She's a French lady based in the United Kingdom, and she's doing a great job so far to keep the car. She's actually behind one of the other female racers, Victoria Thompson, that we've not seen much of at the moment. So 6 seconds in arrears of Victoria at this moment in time. So she'll be trying very hard to close that gap down. But these two have been basically glued together all race, haven't they? Santoro, Penko and Sorello all over the back of each other.
I mean, how much you race with these guys on a regular basis, Paul? How much practice do you think they'll have put in ahead of today's race to be able to be this competitive? Hours, days, weeks.
Hours and days, weeks for sure. I mean, they're fortunate enough that they've known in advance that it's Monza for a little while, so they've been able to get some time behind the wheel. There'll be literally hours and hours per day. The Pride, the Ferrari Driver Academy opportunity, the fact it's for Ferrari is such an incredible chance that you've got to give everything you've got and more. But actually, while we just interrupt myself a second, Cecilia, here's a Cecilia now, got the overlap coming down into T1. That's Josh Martin that he's racing against, I believe. Here's Cecilia down the inside into the braking zone. Martin has seen him, he knows exactly what's happening, releases the throttle, gets a little bit harder on the brakes to slot down behind the back of the Ferrari again. Now Martin will be looking to get a clean exit through the Curva Grande, will looking to find himself in the slipstream to counter-attack almost immediately, coming down into the Della Roggia. Martin shows his nose nice and early, allows the driver ahead to know what is happening, but not quite enough pace there as take a moment to breathe as Daniele Santoro in fourth position manages to find a way past Simeone, overtaking, nicking everywhere.
This is what we were hoping for. A nice, entertaining, competitive race at one of the fastest tracks in the world. They are delivering everything we were hoping for. But it's interesting to see how Santoro is doing. He's a 29-year-old all the way from Rome. And he's actually been a member of the Jean Alesi Esports Academy since September. And is really kind of focusing on honing in his racecraft and trying to become a professional sim racing driver. And it's brilliant to see he is as competitive as Simeone. I'm terrible at these pronunciations. Who's just up ahead in front of him.
And it's really nice that the link in for Ferrari there as well. Jean Alesi, of course, a legendary Ferrari driver in the 1990s, incredibly popular alongside Gerhard Berger in the number 27, the 41T2 I think it was in 1995, one of my all-time favourite racing cars. A great driver, full of passion, the kind of passion that we're seeing now as we look at Pavlovsky there on camera, concentration face. That's a man who is focused. Well, was that Josh? I tell a lie, that is Josh Martin that we see there. So great driving, great focus, and you've got to be, it's only 30 minutes, believe it or not. We've got 9 minutes 16 left on the clock as Josh Martin again, the man under attack. He's got Chris Hockey behind us. So Chris Hockey, an incredibly fast German driver. I've been in races with him. I can't say I've raced against him because he has whooped me. He's miles at the front while I'm nowhere near. But Josh has got a big task ahead of him to continue defending this top 11 position as we're riding on board now with Caruso coming down into the Della Roggia, I think it was there. That's going to tighten up on corner exit. Chris Hockey knows exactly what he's doing, runs him to the outside of the circuit, and that opens up the door for Ayanori Cavillon to try and find a way pass as well. We're riding on board now with Caruso. Cavillon ahead of us. We've got Samir Ibrahimi trying to find an opportunity behind as well. And this is exactly the kind of thing in these cars, these types of cars, at this type of racetrack. It's almost like NASCAR in America. You've got everybody fighting for the same piece of tarmac. You cannot afford to do anything wrong. You've got to attack, and when you pass, it's got to be clean, it's got to be precise. Coming through the Ascari now, this is an incredibly fast piece of corners. You want to be careful not to use too much curb on there because it will spit the car out. These are very stiffly sprung cars. The 488 Challenge Evo Ferrari cars, a great machine actually in Assetto Corsa. If you've already registered and watching at home earlier in the series and have access to this car, I'm sure that you will agree it's a beautiful feeling piece of kit in the sim, and these drivers are wringing absolutely everything out of it.
Yeah, I think the fact that we've had so many sim competitions going on in the last few months, in a way, thanks to the way that the world has changed at the moment, has given these guys the opportunity to really fine-tune their craft, and we're seeing that here today. It's just absolutely brilliant. The calibre of these drivers has come on leaps and bounds compared to maybe a couple of years ago.
It has, and again, for those at home that are maybe new to the world of sim racing or even new to the world of motor racing, firstly, hello and welcome. Great to have you with us, but just to put you in the picture a little bit of the experience, driving solo on this track, turning laps, practicing, controlling the car and going quickly is one thing, but doing it in the spirit of competition with 24 other people or 23 other people on track with you, with such a big prize at the end of it, is an entirely different kettle of fish altogether. Here's a man who knows how to do things on the real circuit, David Perrell, having an attack now. We saw him facing the wrong way earlier on. He makes his way past Victoria Thompson. David Perrell, you can see picture in picture there in his rig, racing hard in his Ferrari attire as well, managing to keep on brand for the real and virtual series. But Perrell very much a man who's recovering, and it just goes to show you that he races these things in real life. Yet he can still, and he spoke to us earlier, find satisfaction and performance from learnings within the sim. That's how close we've got nowadays, and that's why we should really respect what we're seeing out on track here. This is not computer gaming. This is a representation of what it's like in real life, and I dare say if these drivers can perform to this level on the virtual track, there's nothing stopping them being able to do it in the real world as well, and it gives people opportunities that they wouldn't have if it didn't exist. They wouldn't be able to see this level of talent producing these kind of displays if they had to rely on finding several €100,000 to get themselves in a real car.
Yeah, exactly. So well said, Paul. I mean, this is the beauty of it. You know, you really don't need much money to get involved in sim racing. It's all about the skill and the practice, and you can put in the time and the effort and the hours at home. And if you're dedicated, then you can be spotted. You know, your talent can be discovered, which is just incredible. Whereas, you know, previously, as you said, you used to have so much money to be able to get into karting and come up through the junior ranks. Whereas this is a great way to get into racing and then be able to jump from the virtual world into the real world, which we've seen so many drivers do now, and you know, perfecting your racecraft on a game like this is just invaluable. It really is, which I don't think we ever would have thought a few years ago.
And I think there's also something to be said, yes, absolutely, it can be a springboard to the real world, but also esport racing is a means to its own end as well now. So the Ferrari Driver Academy esport team, which is the grand prize, a place within that is a professional organisation where you can make a career from racing in esport competition. So yes, absolutely, there's an opportunity to move into the real thing, but also this can be a profession and a career, and these drivers that we see, many of these are associated with professional teams and do this for a living, as we're riding now on board with Arnaud Lecombe, our race leader, and he's a man that's soaking up all the pressure, isn't he, Nikki?
Yeah, absolutely. He's, well, soaking up the pressure and hoping he's enjoying it. It'll be interesting to see. I hope we get to start to speak to some of these drivers after the races, because of course there is a huge amount of pressure on them to stay cool, stay calm over the course of a half an hour race, because it's a long time to be in that race seat and to be able to defend the position.
Yeah, it is, and Lecombe doing a great job from pole position to race lead as he comes down into Della Roggia once again. But look here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 cars occupying the same piece of tarmac. So 4 cars in room for where there's only 3, and Ayanori Cavion, bless her, has been in the middle of pretty much everything we've seen. She was on the attack the last time we looked. Now she's on the defensive. We've got Caruso round the outside of the Curva Grande. Cavion closes that door very, very firmly indeed. So great bit of defensive driving there. Knew there was a car on the outside, decided to run them out wide, but she's lost a little bit of time on corner exit through the Della Roggia. Goes defensive again into the first of 2 Lesmos. Caruso behind decides that is a little bit too risky for him, so comes out of the throttle a little bit, and Cavion robust in the extreme, but fair, I think, from what we saw. Very, very hard defending as she wants to maintain this 14th place, and in the last couple of minutes or so move forward if at all possible as well.
Yep, just a couple of more laps to go. I can't believe it. We've only got 2.5 minutes left, and this will be the end of the first Pro Series race. It's been absolutely spectacular, but of course don't go anywhere, because after this we will be racing once again with the AM Series.
Yeah, it's been frantic in the extreme, and my voice is going to struggle to make it all the way through the AM Series based on the amount of excitement we've seen so far today. Been beautiful driving up and down the field. We've had overtaking manoeuvres, we've had contact, we've had close side-by-side racing, and at the moment we've got Arnaud Lecombe at the head of the field, although he's not in a comfortable position yet, because we spoke about the slipstream before, a slipstream that Ayanori Cavion is currently very firmly in for the car ahead. She goes to the outside for the Rettifilio. This will become the inside for the second part of the corner. Will she be allowed enough racing room? They managed to avoid making contact with each other, but not quite enough pace to find a way past. Caruso ahead for, unlucky for some, P13 with 1 minute and 33 seconds left on the clock. All drivers that started the race are currently in the race. Dave Perrell, who had a little incident earlier on, so far has made his way back up to 19th position, although he's behind Victoria Thompson once again. So Vicky Thompson doing a great job to find her way back past the South African driver once again. Really nice bit of driving there, but these drivers, Cavion will be absolutely delighted with the experience and the race. The position's a little bit lower than maybe she would have hoped for. We've seen her over at Race Department winning events. She's an incredibly quick driver indeed, but some great racing and some great racecraft shown by everybody as well, and that is what we all love to see, isn't it, Nikki? Is just seeing people close, fighting hard, giving their everything.
Yeah, exactly. And also, as you say, keeping the racing really clean. It's very competitive. These are obviously very professional racing drivers, and that's what they're here to do.
Clues in the name.
Yeah, exactly. Leave a good lasting impression, because, of course, sometimes you do watch a bit of sim racing, and it can get a little bit messy if you don't have necessarily professional drivers behind the wheel. So that has been brilliant to see. I mean, it was a very, very clean sort of first. I mean, I guess sort of the top 5, top 6, the positions haven't really changed. So they kind of, I guess, just got their head down and kept the momentum going, built on their time and really got into the race. But it was the sort of the middle gang that were fighting for position and jostling around. So that was great to see, and be really interesting to see what happens over the course of the next 3 races.
It will. I cannot wait for those. But we're now on the final lap, and Gianni Di Salvo was not giving up on this one. Gianni Di Salvo knows the counter has gone down to 0, knows the next time they cross the start-finish straight will be to close out this first pro race of the Ferrari Hublot Esports series here at the beautiful Monza circuit. And Gianni Di Salvo is giving absolutely everything through the Ascari chicane. Look how much curb he takes. He's maximising his corner exit for the run down to the final parabolica corner. Di Salvo will be showing be taking as much slipstream as he possibly can from Arnaud Lecombe ahead. He won't look to pass at parabolica. He'll look to get a good corner exit, carry as much speed through the apex as possible, run the car to the outside of the corner, try and carry that speed to get in the slipstream of Lecombe ahead. But I think Arnaud Lecombe has done exactly what he needs to do. He has got enough real estate and crosses the line for race victory in the Pro Series Championship race of the first round at Monza. As we're looking now at Ciccolare into the last corner. Has he got enough? No, he does not. He will cross the line in 9th position behind Tariq Gamel, and our first race has been nothing short of spectacular. Thoroughly enjoyed that. So Arnaud Lecombe is your race winner. Gianni Di Salvo is second. Rounding out the podium is Kamil Pawlowski in 3rd place. Simeone, Santoro and Sorello are the top 6. Cesare Penco is ahead of Tariq Gamel in 8th. Ciccolare's 9th with Cecilia in the final top 10 positions. Joss Martin, Chris Hockey and Caruso are in 11, 12, 13. Ayanuri Cavion is the top of our 3 female racers in 14th. Samuel Ratz is ahead of Samia Ibrahimi 15-16. Zaya's managed to recover to 17th place, just ahead of Victoria Thompson, with David Perrell, Parker and Boucq in 19, 20 and 21. What a very exciting first race. So, after all that one, let's get back to the studio.
Oh, well, what a race, Paul. I mean, just brilliant to see those 24 pro drivers. What a calibre of drivers that we've got in this racing competition.
Yeah, fantastic. Brilliant race. Great opener to the championship. Monza never fails, Nikki, to make something beautiful. And yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that one.
Exactly, and the fun doesn't stop there. No, the good news is we do have another race. It is, of course, the race in our AM series. So we're going to have 24 of our AM drivers going head-to-head in just a couple of moments. But first, we are very fortunate because we've got 2 of them on the line ready to chat to us. First of all, we're going to speak to Hungarian driver Norbert Morvai. So let's have a quick word with Norbert and see how he's feeling. Norbert, how are you doing? How are you feeling ahead of today's first race?
Hi, I'm fine, thanks. I'm looking forward to the race.
Excellent. That's what we like to hear. Now, just explain to us a bit about, why did you decide and what does it mean to you to participate in this Ferrari Hublot Esports series?
I signed up mainly because of the challenge. It's gonna be my first time entering an official international series like this, and as far as I can see, the competition is on a very, very high level here, so it's gonna be a massive challenge for me. And it's great to see something like this happening in Assetto Corsa.
So exciting, and lots of people are going to be watching and supporting you as well, I'm sure, particularly with the likes of, F1 driver Charles Leclerc tweeting and putting it on his social media today. But just to explain as well, you're our only Hungarian driver in this competition. So how does it feel to represent your country in such an important esports competition?
It's an honor to be able to represent my country, and I will do my best to properly do so. And in addition, some of our real Hungarian racing drivers also started with sim racing, so in a way I try to honor them and maybe try to follow their path.
Absolutely. Brilliant aspirations. Well, Norbert, thank you so much for joining us. We'll let you get back to practicing, and good luck in the race. Hopefully we'll have a catch up soon after.
Thank you.
Oh, well, there we go. It's amazing. Exciting times for Norbert Morvai. And Paul, we've also got another driver that we can chat to.
We have indeed. If everybody watched the knockout races and cast their mind back to Imola, Michael Tanitsa was the man in the middle of all the track action, on the bubble, out of the championship positions, back in again, and I'm delighted to welcome Michael into the virtual studio on this occasion to talk about his prospects in the Ferrari Hublot AM Championship for this season.
Ciao everyone.
Ciao Michael, great to have you with us. Now, you've got a last name that some of our Ferrari Driver Academy fans will recognise. How does it feel to be competing in a Ferrari like your little brother David Tanitsa?
It is really exciting to compete in a high-level championship organized by Ferrari, and for me, being able to compete with the driver from different countries was a great emotion.
Fantastic, and it's fantastic to have you here with us in this series. Now, first race is at Monza in Italy, in an Italian car. Are you confident? Do you feel happy in your preparation? Do you think you can achieve a good result this time out at the opening race?
Yeah. I will definitely give my best in all the races. Now I think the target is to score as many points as possible and try to get through into the grand final.
Fantastic. Of course, there's 4 races still to go. And Michael, one last thing. Last time out at Imola, you had a very exciting race. Do you think you'll be in the heat of the battle this time at Monza, in the middle of the action?
I think I can do a good race here in Monza, and I try to do the best result for me.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us in this one, Michael Tanitsa. And that said, we've spoken to the AM drivers of this championship now. Let's have a look how the qualification took place ahead of the first round of the Ferrari Hublot AM Championship.
Let's take a look at the grid for the first AM Series race. We've got Jarno Koch in pole position and Gianfranco Giglioni lining up alongside him in second. Then we have Andrea Benedetti and Marco Pinero on the second row of the grid. Fifth is Mateusz Zanuski, and also we have in sixth position Thomas Skibler from France. Lining up in seventh is Dominic Blauger, and then Michael Romagnoli in eighth, all the way from Italy, 4 tenths behind. Wojciech Lukasek in ninth, with Martin Swiderek from Poland in 10th. 4/10 behind. Then in 11th place, we've got Thomas Murekonik, and in 12th, Michael Tonitsa, of course, brother of our other Tonitsa driver. Now, Torben Pench is in 13th from Germany, and in 14th, we've got David Perrell. Marco Murray is our driver lining up in 15th, and alongside him is Norbert Morvai, the only Hungarian driver on the grid. Alessandro Ottavani is in 17th, with Gianluca Carotti in 18th. Numa Natali is one of our Italian drivers on 19th on the grid, and Anjan Amuthan from the United Kingdom will be in 12th. Then we have Maurice Stryker in 21st, and then drivers that haven't set a qualifying lap is Leonardo Del Calmo, Gregor Schill and Jan Nims. Okay, so that is the qualifying results for the AM Series, which means it is now time to go racing for a second time today in Monza. Let's hope there's plenty more drama. It's time to go racing once again. Let the action commence.
Right, here we go again. We've seen the pro racers. Now it's time for our qualified amateur drivers to take to the beautiful Monza circuit for the first round of the beautiful Ferrari Hublot Esports Series AM Championship. The first of 4 races, 24 drivers on the track. Jarno Koh ahead of Gianfranco Giglioli at the front of the field, watching for the lights to be extinguished, and this 30-minute race to start, and we've got a great start from all of the cars as expected for the run down to Rettifilo. Jarno Koh on the outside in the white Ferrari currently takes the race lead. Giglioli under pressure from basically the entirety of the pack behind. Everybody's trying to find a little bit of racetrack in which to put their 488 Challenge Evo into in this opening lap. We've got some good behaviour. I see everybody's pointed in the right direction. Very wise driving as Testjevic there, the race winner last time out, is in 5th position, trying to find a way past the cars ahead, but we've got a little bit of a fight coming down into the Ascari. 2 cars spinning around there. That is Testjevic and Blager making contact with each other into Ascari on this opening lap. In fact, it wasn't Ascari, sorry, it was De La Roggia's chicane. A little bit of confusion further back, as well as 1 or 2 cars go to the gravel in avoidance. And just as I was about to throw it to Nicky saying how clean the opening lap has been, we've got several cars unfortunately finding themselves making contact with each other, Nicky.
Well, I'm kind of glad we've had a bit of drama, because I was actually just thinking to myself, Paul, I feel like I always say the same thing, that we've had a really clean start and then we have a bit of drama. So I'm obviously disappointing for the drivers, but what a brilliant way to start the race, with a bit of action, bit of contact and cars spinning everywhere. But it's going to be a disappointing and a hard race ahead for those two, that's for sure. One interesting thing I was actually just looking at the comparing the pro drivers to the amateur drivers. Obviously this is the first time. Oh, who are we on board over there? Oh, that's Tonitsa, is it? Doing a bit of defending, but yeah, so back to what I was saying. So the pro drivers' best lap in qualifying was a 1:49.135. The amateur drivers a 1:49.262. So only really a 10th between them, which is just brilliant to see. I think they're a little bit further spread out compared to the pro drivers, but you know, really, there's not much between them, is there?
No, there isn't. Really great level of driving, and Tonitsa it was that we saw there. Michael Tonitsa, not his brother David. It's Michael, the older brother of the 2 Tonitsas, in the heart of battle coming through Curva Grande. Tonitsa was almost under pressure through Parabolica and into Rettifilo on the first lap or so. Now he's managed to edge ahead of the chasing pack. He's in the red car, surrounded by the 2 luminous yellow Ferraris around him of Switteric and David Perrell. But Tonitsa under pressure was I think it was Marco Murray there, just having to go through the escape road, has made a bit of a mistake on brake down into the De La Roggia chicane. So Marco Murray dropping back into 15th position now in the early stages of this race. And as we say, we saw a little bit of contact. So Titskiev and Blager, I believe it was, made contact on the opening lap, and they've now fallen to the foot of the field. But up ahead, Jarno Coe and Gianfranco Giglioli retain that 1-2 position. Benedetti and Pinero, third and fourth, are very, very close, as well as we're riding through Ascari now, one of the finest sections of corners on this racetrack. And Monza, anything can happen. We saw it first time around in the pros. To clarify to everybody at home, if you missed the first race from the Pro drivers and are joining us now, thank you for joining us. Be sure to check out the Ferrari socials and YouTube channel to catch that first race. It was a great experience of sim racing at the very highest level. But Marco Murray now, yes, we're looking in 15th position on the recovery drive between him and Ottavani, running down into T1. Murray on the inside in the white Ferrari looks to spot his braking zone. Has he got enough of an overlap? No, he does not. Slips in behind Ottavani ahead, and Murray now coming under pressure from Luca Carotti. We saw this last time around, didn't we, Nicky, that if you make a move ahead of you and it doesn't come off, then instantly you're in a fight with the car behind.
Yeah, exactly. You really can't make any mistakes on this track, one of the fastest tracks there is. Marco Murray, interesting guy, because he has actually, I think he was in nearly all of the qualifying rounds trying to secure his position in the AM series. So he really, it took him a bit of time, didn't it, to get it together, but he's now obviously fighting for as many points as possible and hoping to be in that top 10.
Yeah, that's the thing. You score those points, pick up points, have consistency, use that. This is a benchmark. If you have a good weekend here at Monza, we're racing every weekend. If you have a good one here at Monza, that gives you almost a bit of a safety net, gives you some points in the bank that you can afford to feed off of that for the rest of the season. If you're outside of the points here, or you're placing much lower than you anticipate being, you're on the catch-up, you're on the fight back for the rest of the season. It just makes life so much more difficult. So all of these drivers are nose to tail. I mean, look at that. That is a beautiful view. Look at those drivers, nose to tail, running down the back straight into the parabolic. We've only had 6 minutes just under worth of racing at the moment, and everybody is separated by next to nothing. Beautiful to see that. We've seen some great onboard pictures of the drivers in their sim rig. Maximum concentration as Roman Golding now in P7, heading down into the chicane. Once again, these two, Lukasek ahead of him and Bronovic behind. Again, separated by nothing, Nicky. The fight here, the pressure these drivers are under is just incredible.
The pressure the drivers are under, and the pressure that you're under as well to pronounce all of these names. I'm impressed. I definitely couldn't do it, that's for sure. But yeah, as you say, there is a huge amount of pressure. Also, it's a 30-minute race, so they've put in the practice, they've put in the time, they've put in all of the effort to make sure that they get the best out of this performance today. But of course, only time will tell. Will they crack under the pressure of this race? Because this is when it really, really counts. They need to put in the performance today, keep cool, keep calm. We've seen drivers do it, sort of build that momentum into the course of the race, and then maybe in the last 5 minutes there's been too much pressure from the cars behind and it's all gone horribly wrong. So I think the most important thing is to just kind of block out all the noise around you, block out the pressure, and just try and stay focused on getting the race done.
And that's perfect advice, actually. As Murray Walker once said, to finish first you have to finish. And Roman Golding, that we was looking at previously, was again a man that's under significant pressure. Started a little bit further down than he would have expected in 8th position, running up in 7th. But another driver, Ottavani, that we're looking at here, 14th place. This is a man that I expected to be very much, Alessandro Ottavani, I expected him to be very much at the sharp end of the grid. Started in 17th, he's moved up to 14th, but look how loose his car is. And when I say loose, I mean the rear of the car has got less grip, less traction than he expects. We saw him steering to the left-hand side through the right-hander, putting the opposite lock on, trying to stop the car from swapping ends on him. So he's got a very, very lively setup on this car at the moment, which might be quick, but with 22 minutes left to go, is making a very difficult job of this race. And Martin Swiderick now, another driver that we've seen much of during the qualification process, currently running in 9th position in the yellow Ferrari in the middle of your picture. Now Swiderick, a very, very fast driver, Qualification was separated by a second, Nicky, for the top 21. So we're seeing people outside the top 10. It's not that they're slow, it's just that you can literally separate these cars by the distance you can throw a ball with your eyes closed. Nothing, absolutely nothing these guys are separated by.
Yeah, which again just shows the calibre of these drivers. You know, let's not forget, this was initially open to everyone, anyone, all around the world. Anyone could take part in the qualifying sessions. But of course, we've whittled this down over the course of 4 rounds to the best 24 that are out there. So that's exactly why they're so competitive. There's such a fine margin between them because, of course, we start off with this huge pool of talent and we've brought it back down to the quickest 24 drivers.
They are doing a wonderful job in the opening round of the AM Championship for the Ferrari Hublot Esports Series here at Monza. The opening race, the first race of 4. And Swinnerit, we're continuing to look at now. He's closing slowly but surely on Mironovic ahead of him. But Michael Ternitzer in the red Ferrari is starting to reel the 2 cars ahead in. As these 2 start fighting for position, Ternitzer will be able to carry a greater overall lap speed and close that gap yet further. What he'll be wanting to do, he'll be assessing what Swinnerit ahead is driving like, where he's faster than him, where he's slower, how he's taking his racing line, where his braking points are, the way that the car's behaving. Ternitzer will be looking at this, studying it and learning from it. And as Swinnerit and Mironovic ahead of them start to fight and squabble for position, Ternitzer will be hoping to carry the extra speed that he has through the corner and get himself in a position where he can overtake. He's a little bit too far behind now, but somebody who's not too far behind is Norbert Morvai. There, we saw him earlier in the show. Morvai throwing the car up the inside into the chicane, last of the late breakers, Daniel Ricciardo-esque on the close and stopping pedal, and Morvai moves himself up into 12th position. So a great overtaking manoeuvre there, very, very clean, and did really well to get the car slowed down in time to make the apex of the corner. Beautiful move.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? We've also got Ternitzer in this championship. I would be intrigued to see what David Ternitzer would actually say if his brother Michael became his, well, I suppose his teammate at the Ferrari Driver Academy esports team. It would be quite funny for us to see. I'm not quite sure how he'd feel about it.
It's going to go one of 2 ways. It's either great teamwork, or it's going to be
2 brothers getting very competitive, I'm sure.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see. But of course, we've still got this race and 3 more to go. And then, of course, in November, the grand finale where the pros and the AMs join together for the ultimate prize. So a long way to go until we need to worry too much about who it is that gets through. And somebody that's on the offensive once again is Marco Muri, the man that we've seen a lot of so far in this race, still mired down in 15th place, still trying to find a way past Ottavani ahead, and he gets a good run to the final corner, but just not quite enough pace to find a way past in to the T1 chicane, the Rettifilio chicane. So Muri perhaps carrying a little bit more downforce than maybe some of his rivals ahead of him, and that's really starting to cost him in this race now. He's good in the technicals bits, he's good in Ascari, he's good through the final Parabolica corner, but doesn't have enough legs down the straight to get alongside his rivals. So Muri, as we see a car at the beginning of the shot, just running a little bit onto the outside curb and widening up the escape road. I'm not quite sure who that was, but one of the Ferraris just missed corner turning, and that's a mistake that is oh so easy to make at this track. You're on the edge at all times. The car is trimmed out as much as it possibly can be, as little downforce to make it as quick in a straight line as possible. But conversely, that makes it very, very difficult in the corners, and a mistake is never far away.
Indeed. It's interesting as well to see the sort of the racecraft of these drivers compared to the pro drivers, and I wouldn't say that there's much between them. I don't know if you would agree with me, Paul, or if maybe you've spotted something that my eye can't, but you know, there really isn't that much difference between the 2 sets of competition.
Would completely agree, Nicky, completely agree. The quality of the drivers, each and every one of the drivers in this field, is exceptionally high. I said before, is perhaps an unfortunate way. We see a lot of opposite lock from Murray now. He's really struggling to keep the rear of that 488 Challenge Evo planted to the circuit. But yeah, calling them an AM driver is kind of unfortunate because there's nothing amateur about them apart from the fact they're not associated with an esport or a manufacturer team. The level of skill, preparation, dedication, commitment, whatever you want to call it, is just as high with these drivers, if not more, because these drivers are hungry to turn their amateur status into a pro. And the only thing I've really seen, there's been a couple of occasions where there's a little bit of a half look by some of the drivers, so they're just showing the nose up the inside of corners without any real chance of overtaking. And you can't do that at Monza. Monza's like an oval in America in that momentum, forward progression are critical, and the second you compromise your ability to go forwards by being on a suboptimal line, showing your nose up the inside, you're almost as good as going backwards because the cars behind you are still travelling at 200 kilometres an hour, you're doing 180 kilometres an hour. That 20k differential is the difference between holding and losing a position. So a little bit more discipline, I think, from some of these drivers to only show your cards when you think you've got a strong hand. But other than that, beautiful piece of driving so far. I mean, look at the concentration there. That's somebody who's 100% focused in the task in hand, is Martin Swittering.
Yeah, absolutely. You could see him there sort of trying to relax into it, taking a big, deep breath. I don't know whether he could see himself on screen or not, but I did see him sort of glancing up there a couple of times. But obviously trying to just stay focused. And yeah, a bit of breathing always helps, doesn't it, to stay in the right mindset. Is there anything that you do, any tips from all of your driving experience that you do to try and, alleviate the pressure and just get into the moment?
All of the tips and all of the preparation, it comes before the race. It's the preparation. As we see Swittering just quickly having a look. I'll just interrupt myself for a second as he shows his nose but nothing doing. It's all about the preparation. You do enough laps, you do enough time behind the cockpit that the driving is second nature. It's all a known experience. You've done that much driving that you know exactly what's coming in any given situation and how the car's going to behave. When you get to that point when the car is driving through your subconsciousness, then when you get into a pressure race situation, you don't need to worry about that side of things because it's all mechanical, it's all happening exactly the same as it has done 3,000 laps ago when you've been doing it and lapping. And that way I find that takes me out of the pressure zone. But as I'm talking, Swittering has made a mistake coming out of the second chicane, attacking. We saw him earlier on board, just trying to find a way past Mironovic ahead. Well, Swittering has made a little mistake, hooked a wheel onto the gravel on the outside of the circuit, and now Michael Tanitsa, who we spoke about just a few short moments ago, is very much in an attacking position. Tanitsa holds 10th position, the last of the top 10 runners at the moment, but he is the man with momentum and impetus on his side. So Tanitsa was going to be looking now to find a way to move up into that top 9, and then hopefully for him further and further. Top 6 really, Nick, is where you need to be. That's where the big points are. That's what you can consider to be a good start to the Championship Challenge, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to be really interesting when we go to the Nordschleife next week to see if the drivers can keep the momentum. Perhaps they might perform really well at this track at Monza, but if that doesn't suit them, it's a very different track at Nordschleife. So it's going to be interesting to see if the results will continue in the same way that they have today.
It is, and that's what I love. That's why this is, again, for those of you that maybe are just joining or didn't catch it when we said it earlier, this is a 4-round championship. Up to this point, we've had knockout qualification races. So we've had the opportunity where anybody in Europe can set a hot lap time. If they're in the top 24, they're invited to an end-of-week Sunday knockout race. Same format, same cars. 30 minutes, top 6, qualify for this series. Now we've moved into the championship proper. What is happening is the drivers will remain the same drivers for 4 races. They will score points. Very, very different tracks. We've got Monza, we've got Zandvoort, the Nordschleife as well, and Spa-Francorchamps. Very different tracks that will play to the strengths and the weaknesses of the respective drivers. So if this is not your kind of circuit, What you need to do is score as many points as you can until you get to a strong opportunity where you can get a big result. And that's a very different dynamic because it's not all or nothing. It's not critical to be in the top 6. It's about being intelligent, being fast, being strong and being smart. And that is very difficult to apply that logic when you're in the heat of a battle. As we see here, look at these cars now, all separated by a car length apiece, but you need to think of the big game, and the end game is getting in to the top of the championship so you can get into that grand finale event in November. And I love that kind of dynamic because it's where it brings out the real clever racecraft as well. Look at Ottavani now showing the nose up the inside into parabolic and makes a little bit of contact, does Andrea Benedetti there. We're seeing watching bike is making a position as well. So Ottavani has not only made a position, or actually saying that now under a little bit of pressure from Blazar behind. So Ottavani has gone from the attacker to the defender, beat contact on the start-finish straight. This is an amazingly large accident. Big mistake there. Ottavani not quite sure exactly what happened, but didn't have as much forward momentum as the driver behind expected. They made contact, hit the barriers, and that is both cars in a massive accident out of the race with 10 minutes and 51 seconds left on the clock. Very, very scruffy, but unfortunately at these speeds, a small mistake has a massive consequence.
Yeah, which is exactly what we've been talking about the whole time, isn't it? It's brilliant, you know, if you can just stay focused and keep that momentum going and keep the speed up and stay out of trouble, then this race is yours. But if you make just the tiniest of mistakes, there are huge,